Well, former New South Wales Premier Mike Baird has launched a scathing attack on modern-day political leaders, accusing them of stoking division in society and failing to do, quote-unquote, what they know is right or what they believe in. Joining me now is former Speaker of the House, Bronwyn Bishop, and Sky News contributor Joe Hildebrand. Bronwyn, as we all know, you've been in politics. We're in politics a long time. What do you make of Baird's assessment of political leaders of today?
And to be honest, Caleb, this is the sort of comment that makes me very cross. It says, look at me, I'm better than the rest. And in truth, you join a political party because you believe in a philosophy of that party. You've got Albanese, who's elbow the trot. That's his basis. And on the Liberal side of the agenda, you've got people who are Liberal conservative. Now, people who believe in principles, and for me it's free enterprise and the philosophy of individualism, that develops policies, and you fight fiercely for those policies to develop. Now, there's a rumour going round that Mike Baird's just resigning from his current job and he's going to run for the seat of Warringah. And let me say, if he's endorsed, then an endorsed Liberal is better than a Teal any day. But he made this very curious quote. He said about this political debate that this invariably means that people are managing to try and win elections. Now, what on earth is he trying to say about that? Of course you're trying to win elections. What's the point in being politics if you can't put your policies in place? So, as I said, this sort of, look at me, I'm really morally pure and I'm really above all this. Let me say, trying to destroy people's jobs and put out of business small businesses with the greyhound racing issue was just a disgrace and nothing to do with Liberal philosophy. So, Mike Baird, you want to run? Get endorsed, and we'll all support that. But for heaven's sake, believe in the things that are Liberal conservative values. Believe in the things that say we want freedom, we want individualism, we want success, we want a good country. So that's my comment.
And the greyhounds was where my mind first went when he suggested this idea of, standing up for what you believe in. Now, Joe, I mean, Mike Baird may well have believed in banning greyhound racing, but we know how well that ended for him. It's one thing to say you have an open mind. It's another thing entirely to leave your mind so open that your brain falls out. You're in the game of politics. At some point, you've got to take into account what the voter and the public wants, as opposed to just what you think is the right thing to do. I mean, we elect you to do stuff for us, right?
Yeah, look, I think Mike Baird, certainly in his own life, he's been a man of incredible principle. He was going to be a Christian minister for a while. You don't get much more principled than that, in my view, although it was for the Church of England, not the one true holy Catholic and Apostolic Church of Rome, but nobody's perfect.
I'm not going to argue with you on that point,
he then left politics to care for his sick and, as it turned out, dying mother. That was not something he crowed about at the time. In fact, everyone was mystified as to why he was leaving politics so early at the time. And a lot of people sort of said, oh, he's just going to earn more money in the private sector. In fact, it was the opposite of that, but he never crowed about that. So I don't think he is crowing. But yeah, like you, I did go straight to the greyhound debacle or example at least, and think the problem with these sorts of comments is that what people think is the right and honourable and decent thing to do is often two very different things depending on two very different sides of the debate. And so while to Mike Baird and to, advisors of his they were friends with and to animal liberationists, shutting down greyhound racing or greyhound breeding would be an unquestionably good, noble, pure and honourable thing to do. But as Bronwyn said, for the people whose livelihoods come from the industry, and I think probably more important for the people who just like to go to the dogs on a Saturday or on a Wednesday night, I think it is, and lay down a few bucks and have a bit of fun, the working man's meditation. It didn't seem particularly right or decent and smacked of kind of elitism. So I think, I think saying, don't cause division, don't stoke division just for the sake of winning elections, I think that's a pretty fair comment. I don't see how many people could argue with it. But again, if you're not going to win election, was it Gough Whitlam who said only the impotent are pure? If you're not going to worry about winning elections, there's not much point being in politics.
Well, look, going after racing is a pretty good way to make an enemy of me, it must be said. Now, 8 people, this is awful, 8 people put into induced comas after suspected drug overdoses at a festival on the weekend. They're at this rave at Flemington Racecourse in Melbourne. They all apparently overdosed on MDMA, and now the Greens, I suppose rather predictably, are calling for pill testing to be established in the state. I mean, Bronwyn, we still don't have confirmation that these overdoses were caused by a bad batch of drugs or anything like this, and you've got a bunch of young kids who are in a very bad way, and the Greens take the first opportunity to jump on it and push their political barrow.
The first thing that should be said is that kids have to be warned that taking drugs can kill you, can maim you, and make you an addicted person who is living a life which is below your potential. But there is this wickedness about the Greens who say, test the pill and nobody will be affected. What rubbish. There's a whole range of drugs that are available now, including ketamine, for heaven's sake, which is something that is new into the scene. It's cheap. And it's the one that star of Friends had in his bloodstream and he drowned in his backyard pool. I mean, the sheer illegitimacy of the Greens on this issue is disgusting. We've seen it in Canberra, where they've almost made decriminalised illicit drugs because the Greens are in power with the Labor Party. So what has to be done is to warn kids so that they know what the risks are. We had a lovely young woman die who was at Narrabeen Sports High when I was the member. She died of an overdose because her body heated up to the degree that her organs were melting. Her brother made a wonderful statement which said, understand what you're doing to your body and make your decision, but understand what it is you are doing. Because he knew, by not understanding that, he had a dead sister. There are too many stories of great tragedy because we don't tell people what can happen to them.